The massive doors of the council chamber slid open with a sound that echoed through the vast hall. Daehyun walked forward, his footsteps soft against the polished floor that seemed to glow with its own light. Around him, the 12 seats of the elder races rose like monuments, each one carved from materials he had never seen before. The beings sitting in those seats looked down at him with eyes that held thousands of years of history. Daehyun stood alone in the center of the chamber. He wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, nothing fancy or decorated. Behind him, the doors closed, and he felt the weight of their judgment pressing down on his shoulders. He had known this day would come. Earth had been pushing boundaries, exploring too fast, building too many ships. The council didn't like that. The eldest one spoke first. Its voice came from everywhere at once, a deep rumble that made the air vibrate. Ambassador Daehyun of Earth, you stand accused of violating the expansion treaty. Your species has built military vessels beyond the agreed limits. Your colonies spread into restricted zones. You have ignored our warnings. What do you say? Daehyun took a breath. He had prepared his speech for weeks, practiced it 100 times. Honored Council, humanity has only sought to protect itself. We have seen what happens to species without adequate defense. The treaty was written 2,000 years ago, before new threats emerged. We ask only for the same rights you grant yourselves. Rights? Another voice, sharp like breaking glass. The Cultrine representative leaned forward, its crystalline body catching the light. You speak of rights while you arm yourselves like conquerors. We have reports of weapons that violate 3 separate accords. We have evidence of secret shipyards. This is not defense. This is preparation for war. Daehyun felt his hands curl into fists, but he kept his voice steady. If building ships is preparation for war, then what do you call the fleets you maintain? Earth has 47 worlds now. We have 12 billion people scattered across the stars. We need the ability to protect them all. Is that so unreasonable? The chamber erupted with sounds, alien languages mixing together. Some of the council members were arguing with each other now. Daehyun saw this as a small victory. If they were divided, maybe there was hope. But then the eldest one raised one massive hand and silence fell instantly. We have heard enough. The council will vote. Daehyun stood there, watching as lights appeared above each seat. Red for guilty, blue for innocent. One by one, the lights came on. Red, red, red. His heart sank with each one. 9 red lights. Only 3 blue. Earth had lost. Ambassador Daehyun, the eldest one said, and there was something in its voice that might have been regret. By council law, Earth is hereby expelled from the galactic community. All trade agreements are void. All technology sharing is terminated. Earth's representatives must leave council space within 30 days. Furthermore, sanctions will be placed on all human worlds. This is our judgment. Daehyun wanted to scream, to argue, to demand justice, but he knew it would do no good. Instead, he simply bowed his head. The people of Earth will remember this day, he said quietly. You have made a grave mistake. He turned and walked back toward the doors. They opened before him, and he stepped through without looking back. But inside, his mind was already racing. There were plans within plans. Earth had known this might happen. They had prepared for it. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Daehyun spent most of it in his quarters, writing reports and sending encrypted messages. When his ship finally entered the Sol system, he felt relief wash over him. Home. No matter what happened, this was home. President Minji was waiting for him at the landing pad in Geneva. She was a small woman with iron in her eyes, and when she shook his hand, her grip was firm. They voted against us, she said. It wasn't a question. 9-3, Daehyun confirmed. The sanctions take effect immediately. Minji nodded slowly. Then we move to the next phase. Come with me. The cabinet is waiting. The United Earth government's emergency bunker was 3 kilometers underground. Daehyun followed Minji through security checkpoints and blast doors until they reached a conference room filled with faces he recognized. Admiral Jiwon sat at the far end, her uniform crisp and perfect. Next to her was Defense Minister Taeyang, and beside him, Intelligence Director Kyung-soo. Others filled the remaining seats representing every major department of Earth's government. Minji took her place at the head of the table. The council has expelled us. They think they've cut us off at the knees. They think we'll come crawling back within a year, begging to be readmitted on their terms. They're wrong. She looked at Admiral Jiwon. Report. Jiwon stood and activated the holographic display. The room filled with light, showing the Sol system and beyond. Operation Dark Star is complete. We have 53 hidden facilities across 12 systems. The Council knows about maybe 10% of our actual military capacity. They think we have 800 ships. The real number is closer to 7,000. Daehyun felt his eyes widen. 7,000 ships? How had they kept this secret? The shipyards on Titan alone have been producing vessels for the past 8 years, Jiwon continued. We have new quantum drives that are twice as fast as anything the Council uses. Our weapon systems are 3 generations ahead of the last tech they shared with us. We didn't need their help. We've been innovating on our own. What about the colonies? Asked Foreign Minister Hana. Will they stay loyal? I've been in contact with all 37 governors, said Kyung-soo. 34 have already pledged to stand with Earth. The other 3 are considering it. None have indicated they'll side with the Council. Minji looked around the table. Then we're agreed. Earth will not accept this judgment. We have the strength to stand alone and the courage to forge our own path. But this isn't just about Earth anymore. It's about all humanity wherever they live. It's about showing the galaxy that we won't be pushed around by ancient powers who think they own the stars. She pressed a button, and the display changed. It showed a new symbol, a blue world surrounded by silver stars, the Terran Imperium. That's what we'll call it. Not just a nation, but an empire of free worlds, human worlds. Our worlds, Daehyun stared at the symbol. An Imperium. The word felt heavy, important. The Council will see this as a declaration of war, he said. Let them, Minji replied. We've tried playing by their rules. We've tried being grateful for the scraps they throw us. No more. From this moment on, Earth bows to no one. We build our own future. Admiral Jiwon smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. I've been waiting 30 years to hear those words. The fleets are ready. Just give the order. Minji stood and everyone else rose with her. Send the message. To every human world, every human ship, every human soul in this galaxy. Tell them we're free. Tell them we're strong. Tell them the Terran Imperium is born and we will never kneel again. That night, across dozens of worlds, billions of humans received the message. In the cold darkness of space, massive ships powered up their engines and began to move. On Titan, Commander Hyunwoo watched as the first of the shadow fleets emerged from their hidden hangars. Sleek and deadly, the Council had wanted to isolate Earth. Instead, they had unleashed something they couldn't control. Humanity was done asking for permission. They would take their place among the stars, not as subjects but as equals. And if the galaxy didn't like it, well, Earth had built an Imperium to deal with that problem. The age of human submission was over. The age of the Terran Imperium had begun. The Valorian Armada arrived at the edge of the Sol system exactly 29 days after Earth's expulsion. 312 warships, their hulls painted in the traditional blue and gold of the Council's enforcement fleet. They arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the system's outer boundary, blocking every major route in or out. Admiral Krivash, commander of the Valorian forces, sent a simple message to Earth. Submit to quarantine. No ships leave. No ships enter. This is Council law. Admiral Jiwon read the message from her command chair aboard the dreadnought Indomitable. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, their faces calm. They had trained for this moment. Behind the Indomitable, another 49 ships of the First Shadow Fleet hung in space, weapons charged and ready. Send our response, Jiwon said. Tell them we decline. Captain Yoonji, commander of the Indomitable, allowed herself a small smile. She was young for her rank, only 32, but she had risen quickly through the new Imperial Navy. Helm, bring us about. All ships, attack formation Delta 7. Let's show them what Earth builds. The Shadow Fleet moved as one, their new quantum drives flaring to life. In an instant, they appeared right in the middle of the Valorian formation, close enough that the enemy's long-range weapons were useless. The Valorians scattered in confusion, trying to reorganize, but it was already too late. Fire, Yoonji said calmly. The Indomitable's main cannons spoke, and space lit up with violet energy. The new particle beams cut through Valorian shields like they weren't even there, punching holes in ship after ship. Around them, the rest of the Shadow Fleet unleashed their own weapons. In the first 30 seconds of combat, 17 Valorian ships simply ceased to exist. Admiral Kravash screamed orders at his crew, but nothing worked the way it should. The human shields absorbed their weapons without damage. The human ships moved faster than should be possible. His fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming an hour ago, was being torn apart. "All ships retreat," Kravash finally ordered. "Fall back to the rally point." But the humans didn't let them go easily. The Shadow Fleet pursued, picking off stragglers, forcing the Valorians to abandon damaged vessels. By the time the Council fleet escaped the system, they had lost 126 ships. The humans had lost none. Jiwan watched them go on her display. "Let them run," she said. "Let them tell the Council what they saw here today. Let them spread the word about what happens when you threaten Earth." Thousands of light years away on the colony world of New Pyongyang, Governor Ji-hoon received different news. Council peacekeepers were landing, 12 ships full of soldiers who believed they would take control of the human settlements. The governor stood on the balcony of the Colonial Administration building, watching the alien troops march down the main street. "They think we're helpless," said Major Yuna, standing beside him. She commanded the Colonial Defense Force, 3,000 soldiers with equipment that looked old and outdated. That was by design. The Council didn't know about the weapons hidden in the mountains or the training every colonist had received. "Let them get comfortable," Ji-hoon said. "Let them think they've won. Then we hit them." 3 days later, the Council peacekeepers controlled the major cities, or so they thought. They had set up checkpoints and curfews. They had demanded the colonists turn over their weapons and supplies. They had made speeches about the rule of law and the wisdom of the Council. Then at midnight on the third day, the lights went out. Yuna's forces struck from everywhere at once. The mountains came alive with missile fire. The supposedly peaceful colonists revealed hidden weapons and training. In the farms and villages, ambushes erupted. The Council troops found themselves surrounded, cut off from their ships, fighting an enemy that knew every inch of the terrain. By dawn, half the peacekeepers were captured. By the next evening, the rest surrendered. Ji-hoon broadcast a message to the entire colony. "New Pyongyang stands with Earth. We are citizens of the Terran Imperium, and we will never bow to the Council again." Across 17 other colony worlds, similar uprisings succeeded. The Council had expected quick victories. Instead, they faced coordinated resistance and humiliating defeats. Their occupation forces surrendered or fled, and every human world declared loyalty to the Imperium. But Earth wasn't done. Daehyun now served as the Imperium's chief diplomat, and he was discovering that not everyone in the galaxy loved the Council. The Salaxi, a reptilian species that had been Council members for 800 years, reached out through secret channels. Their ambassador, whose name translated as Kiran, met Daehyun on a neutral station. "Your expulsion was unjust," Kiran said, his scaled face unreadable to human eyes. "The Council has grown corrupt. They maintain power through fear and control. We have watched you humans, and we see something different. You don't ask permission. You don't wait for approval. You act. Are you offering an alliance?" Daehyun asked carefully. "We offer information," Kiran replied. "Supply routes, defense schedules, political intelligence. In return, when your Imperium grows strong enough, remember that the Salaxi helped you. Remember that we seek reform, not revolution. Help us change the Council from within." Daehyun agreed. The information Kiran provided proved invaluable. It revealed weaknesses in Council defenses, divisions among the elder races, and opportunities for expansion. The Thrym approached more directly. They were insectoid beings who communicated through a hive speaker, and their message was simple. "The Council suppresses younger species. Together we can resist. Together we can be free." President Minji listened to Daehyun's reports and made her decision. "Accept both offers. Build these alliances, but make it clear that we don't serve the Council's enemies. We serve ourselves. Anyone who wants to work with us does so as equals, not masters." With new intelligence in hand, Admiral Jiwan proposed a bold strategy. Instead of waiting for the Council to attack again, Earth would strike first. Not at civilian targets, but at their military infrastructure. Make them understand that this war would cost them dearly. "It's risky," Minji said during the War Council meeting. "If we attack, we can never go back to the negotiating table." "We were never going back anyway," Jiwan replied. "The Council expelled us. They tried to blockade us. They tried to occupy our colonies. They've already chosen war. We're just fighting back." Minji nodded slowly. "Then proceed. But Jiwan, be smart about this. We're strong, but we're not invincible. Pick your targets carefully." Operation Retribution began 2 weeks later. Commander Seojin led a strike force of 30 stealth frigates deep into Council territory. Their target was the shipyards in the Antares sector, where the Council built most of their heavy warships. The frigates used their advanced stealth systems to slip past patrol fleets and defense stations. They struck at dawn local time. Precision missiles destroyed dry docks and construction platforms. Particle beams cut through administrative facilities and supply depots. Within an hour, the Council's largest shipbuilding complex was reduced to burning wreckage. Seojin's force escaped without losing a single ship. 2 days later, another strike force hit weapons factories in the Canopus system. 3 days after that, a logistics hub near Arcturus went up in flames. Earth was sending a message: nowhere in Council space was safe. Not anymore. The Council leadership met an emergency session. The eldest one, who had ruled for 3,000 years, looked at the reports with something approaching fear. How is this possible? Earth was a minor species. They had limited technology. They were supposed to be isolated and weak. They lied to us, the Caltrine representative said. They hid their true strength. They prepared for this day while pretending to follow our rules. We underestimated them. Then what do? Another Council member asked. They have allies now. They're winning battles. They're destroying our infrastructure. How do we stop them? The eldest one was silent for a long moment. Finally it spoke. We assemble the Grand Armada. Every ship from every Council species. We crush them before they grow any stronger. We show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us. Back on Earth in the Imperial Command Center, G1 received intelligence about the Council's plans. She studied the numbers, ran the simulations, and smiled. They're going to come at us with everything they have. Good. Let them gather their forces in one place. It'll make it easier to defeat them all at once. Yoonji, standing beside her, raised an eyebrow. You think we can win against the entire Council military? I think we have to, G1 replied. Because if we don't, the Imperium ends before it truly begins. But yes, I think we can win. We have better ships, better tactics, and better people. They have tradition and arrogance. I know which one wins wars. Across the Imperium, the military prepared for the coming storm. New ships rolled out of the shipyards every day. Soldiers trained until they moved like machines. Scientists developed even more advanced weapons and defenses. The colonies fortified their positions and sent their young to serve in the Imperial forces. The Terran Imperium had been born in defiance. Now it would be tested in fire. The Council wanted to crush humanity back into submission, but Earth had learned a hard lesson. In the cold darkness of space, only the strong survived. And humanity intended to survive. The Great Hall on Mars had been built for this moment. 5,000 seats arranged in a perfect circle, each one occupied by a representative from one of humanity's 37 colony worlds. Above them, the dome showed the red Martian sky, and beyond that, the stars. President Minji stood at the center podium, knowing that what she said next would shape human history for centuries. We gather today not as separate worlds, but as one people, she began. The Council wanted to divide us to make us weak. Instead, they gave us purpose. They showed us that we can only trust ourselves. Today, I ask you to approve the Imperial Charter, to transform our loose alliance into something permanent and strong. Today, I ask you to build an Imperium. Senator Borum from Eden Prime rose to speak. She was an older woman, her face weathered from years farming under an alien sun. Many of us left Earth to escape empires. We came to the colonies seeking freedom. Now you ask us to join a new empire. How is this different? Minji met her eyes directly. Because you have a voice. Because the Charter guarantees that every world, no matter how small, sends representatives here. Because I will not be a president anymore, but an empress who serves at your pleasure. The Council ruled through force and ancient right. We will rule through consent and law. That is the difference. The debate lasted 3 days. Some representatives worried about central control. Others feared Earth would dominate the outer colonies. But slowly, through compromise and negotiation, a consensus formed. On the 4th day, the vote came. 34 colonies approved the Charter. 3 abstained. None voted against Empress Minji, no longer just president, accepted her new role with both pride and worry. We have created something new today. Let us make sure we create something good. While politicians argued on Mars, Chief Engineer Soman worked in the asteroid belt. She floated in the command center of Forge Station 1, watching through the windows as thousands of mining drones carved rocks into raw materials. The asteroids here contained more metal than Earth had mined in its entire history, and now all of it belonged to the Imperium. "We're ahead of schedule," reported her assistant, Engineer Dong-hyun. "The new smelting facilities are operational. We can process 16 million tons of ore per day now. The shipyards have everything they need." Somin nodded, but her mind was already on the next challenge. "It's not enough. The Council is building their Grand Armada. We need to match their numbers and exceed their quality. I want the construction rate doubled within 2 months." "Doubled?" Dong-hyun looked shocked. "That's impossible. We'd need to build entirely new facilities, train thousands more workers, develop new automated systems, then do all of that," Somin interrupted. The word impossible was removed from the Imperial dictionary. "Find a way." 2 months later, the impossible became reality. New forge worlds appeared throughout the belt, each one producing ships, weapons, and equipment at rates that would have seemed like fantasy a year ago. The Imperium launched a new dreadnought every 14 days. Cruisers and frigates emerged from the yards in steady streams. The military grew from 7,000 ships to 12,000, then 15,000. But ships alone wouldn't win wars. Director Minho understood this. He led the Artificial Intelligence Development Division, working on networks that could coordinate fleet actions faster than any organic mind. In his laboratory deep under Luna's surface, he tested the latest tactical AI. "Run Simulation 37, he ordered. The holographic display showed 2 fleets meeting in battle. The blue fleet, controlled by the AI, moved with perfect precision. Every ship knew exactly where to be, exactly when to fire. The red fleet, using traditional command structures, fell apart within minutes. The reaction time is now 0.03 seconds, Minho explained to the military observers. That means our ships can respond to threats 30 times faster than crews using manual systems. The AI doesn't get tired, doesn't make mistakes, doesn't panic. It's the perfect tactical officer." Admiral Jiwon watched the simulation with interest. "What about when it faces something unexpected?" "AIs can be predictable. This one learns," Minho replied. "Every battle, every simulation, it gets smarter. It adapts. Watch." He ran another simulation, this one featuring unusual tactics and surprise attacks. The AI paused for maybe a second, analyzed the situation, then adjusted its strategy perfectly. Jiwon smiled. "When can we install it in the fleet?" "It's already installed," Minho said. "Every ship built in the last 4 months has the network. They're all connected, all learning together. The Council is going to face something they've never seen before. A fleet that thinks as one." While engineers built ships and programmers refined code, scientist Hyun worked on the weapons that would tip the balance. She led a team of 300 researchers studying captured Council technology and pushing it beyond original designs. In her lab, she demonstrated the latest breakthrough to a group of military officials. "This is a phase shift drive," she explained, pointing to a device the size of a small car. "The Council uses something similar for long-distance travel, but they never thought to weaponize it." "We did. Watch." She activated the device. The test ship in the sealed chamber vanished, reappeared 50 meters away, vanished again, and returned to its original position. All in less than 3 seconds. "Imagine a warship that can jump short distances instantly," Hyun continued. "It appears behind enemy lines, fires, and vanishes before they can respond. Or a ship that dodges incoming weapons by blinking out of existence. The tactical applications are endless." "What about energy requirements?" asked one of the officials. "That's the beautiful part," Hyun said. "Each jump uses less power than a single main cannon shot. A ship can make dozens of jumps in a battle without straining its reactors. We've also developed particle beams that ignore traditional shields, and nanite repair systems that can fix damage in minutes instead of hours. The Council gave us their technology thinking it would keep us dependent on them. Instead, we took it and made it better. The military applications were obvious, but the Imperium needed more than just weapons." Ambassador Dae-hyun traveled to dozens of worlds, offering protection and trade to species tired of Council dominance. His ship, the diplomatic vessel Unity, visited systems that had never seen a human before. On the water world of Kelva III, he met with the local government. The Kelvins were amphibious beings who had suffered under Council trade restrictions for decades. Their representative, called Suryan in human language, listened to Dae-hyun's offer with visible interest. "You say the Imperium protects its trading partners," Suryan said, her gills flaring. "But what do you want in return?" "Fair trade," Dae-hyun replied simply. The Council took 70% of your deuterium production and paid you barely enough to survive. We offer 60-40 split with you keeping 60. We also offer protection against piracy and Council retaliation. All we ask is that you remain neutral if war comes. Neutral? Surian seemed surprised. You don't demand alliance? We don't demand anything, Daehyun said. The Council rules through force. We prefer to rule through benefit. Trade with us and your people prosper. That's the offer. Take it or leave it. The Kelvins took it. So did 15 other species over the next 6 months. Diplomatic attaché Nari, working alongside Daehyun, helped organize these partnerships into a formal structure called the Free Worlds League. Not all were human worlds and not all swore loyalty to the Imperium, but all agreed to mutual defense and economic cooperation. The Council watched these developments with growing alarm. Species that had obeyed them for centuries now looked to Earth for leadership. Trade routes that had fed Council economies now enriched the Imperium instead. The balance of power, which had been stable for thousands of years, shifted with terrifying speed. They're not just building an empire, observed the Caltrine representative during a council session. They're replacing us. Within 5 years, they'll have more influence than we do. Within 10, they'll be the dominant power in the galaxy. The eldest one knew this was true. Then we cannot wait 5 years. The Grand Armada must be ready within 3 months. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we possess. We will crush the Imperium before it grows beyond our ability to stop. Back in Imperial space, intelligence reports confirmed the Council's preparations. 3,000 warships from 9 different species, gathering at a staging area near the Lyran Nebula. The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, all aimed at humanity. Empress Minji called a meeting of her inner circle. Admiral Jiwon, Director Minho, Chief Soman, Scientist Hyun, and Ambassador Daehyun all gathered in the Imperial War Room beneath Geneva. They're coming, Minji said simply. 3,000 ships. Maybe more. Everything they have. We have 15,000 ships now, Jiwon noted. Better ships, better technology. The numbers favor us. Numbers aren't everything, Minho added, but our tactical networks give us an edge. Our ships will fight as one perfect organism while theirs will be 9 separate fleets trying to coordinate. Hyun spoke up. The new weapons are ready. The phase shift drives are installed in 2,000 vessels. The particle beams are standard on all new ships. Our defensive nanites can repair damage that would cripple Council vessels. Daehyun had a different concern. The Grand Armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of human territory. 3,000 warships, their weapons charged and shields at full power. At the center of the formation, aboard the massive battlecruiser Eternal Judgment, Supreme Commander Valerix surveyed his fleet with satisfaction. 9 species had contributed ships, crews, and weapons. The combined might of the Galactic Council, all focused on one goal, destroying the Terran Imperium. Begin the advance, Valerix ordered. His 4 arms gestured at the tactical display. First target is New Sol. It's their richest colony, their pride and joy. We take it and we break their spirit. His officers moved to obey, but one of them hesitated. Commander, intelligence suggests the humans have more ships than we originally believed. Perhaps we should, perhaps nothing, Valerix snapped. They are one species. We are 9. They have existed in space for barely 2 centuries. We have ruled for millennia. Numbers mean nothing without experience, without unity, without the blessing of the Council. Proceed as ordered. The Armada moved forward. A wall of metal and energy that stretched across space. They encountered the first human patrol ships within hours. Small frigates that scanned the Council fleet, transmitted data, and retreated without engaging. Valerix let them go. Let them run. Let them tell their masters that doom was coming. New Sol orbited a yellow sun in a system humans had colonized 30 years ago. The planet below was beautiful, covered in blue oceans and green continents. Cities sparkled on the night side. Orbital stations and defense platforms surrounded it like a crown. 2 million humans lived there, building lives far from Earth. Planetary Governor Wu Jin stood in the command center, watching the Council fleet approach on his displays. He was a calm man, old enough to have been born on Earth itself, and he had fought in the independence wars that established the colony. He knew what was coming. How long until they arrive? He asked his military advisor. 6 hours at their current speed. The defense platforms are ready. The planetary shields are at maximum. But Governor, they outnumber us badly. We have maybe 300 ships in the system. They have 10 times that. Wu Jin smiled slightly. They have 10 times the ships we can see. That's different. He opened a secure channel. Captain Yunji, this is Governor Wu Jin. I hope you're in position. Light years away, hidden behind a dead moon in the next system over, Captain Yunji received the message. Around her ship, the Indomitable, another 200 vessels of the Third Fleet waited in perfect silence, their energy signatures masked by advanced stealth systems. We're ready, Governor, Yunji replied. Let them commit to the attack. Let them think they're winning. Then we hit them from behind. The Council fleet entered New Seoul's system with weapons blazing. They ignored the surrender demands that Governor Wu Jin sent, ignored the pleas for mercy. Valorix wanted a decisive victory, something brutal and public that would make other human worlds think twice about resistance. The defense platforms opened fire first. Massive cannons that could punch through heavy armor found their targets. Council ships died in the opening salvo, torn apart by weapons that seemed far more powerful than they should be. But there were so many ships. For every one that died, 10 more pushed forward. The human fleet defending New Seoul moved to engage, commanded by Admiral Junho. His ships used the new tactics, jumping short distances with their phase shift drives, appearing where the enemy didn't expect them. But even with superior technology, they were simply outnumbered. Ships took damage, shields failed. Crews died. On the planet below, millions of civilians watched the battle unfold above them. Some prayed, some wept, some simply stared, knowing that their fate hung in the balance of fire and metal. Thousands of kilometers overhead, they're breaking through the outer defense line, reported Tactical Officer Era from her station on Governor Wu Jin's command ship. We need reinforcements now or they'll reach the planet within the hour. Wu Jin checked the time. The Council fleet was fully committed now. Their ships scattered across the system as they pursued what they thought was a retreating enemy. Perfect. Send the signal, he ordered. The Third Fleet jumped into the system behind the Council Armada. 200 fresh ships, their weapons hot and ready, led by the Indomitable. Yunji didn't waste time with speeches or warnings. She simply gave the order. All ships free fire. Target their command vessels first. The Council fleet suddenly found themselves caught between two forces. The retreating human ships turned and attacked with renewed fury. The new arrivals tore into their rear formations. Ships that had thought they were hunters became prey in seconds. Valorix stared at his displays in disbelief. Where did they come from? How did we not detect them? No one had answers. The battle devolved into chaos as human ships used their mobility advantage to devastating effect. They would appear, fire, and vanish before the Council could respond. Their targeting was eerily perfect. Multiple ships focusing on single targets with coordinated precision that no organic crew should be able to match. What Valorix didn't know was that Director Minho's AI network connected every human ship. They weren't 300 individual vessels anymore. They were one organism with 300 weapons, all controlled by an intelligence that could process tactical data faster than any living being. The battle lasted 36 hours. When it ended, the Council had lost nearly half their ships. The survivors retreated in disorder, abandoning damaged vessels and dead crews. New Seoul was saved, but the cost had been high. 43 human ships destroyed, over 8,000 crew members dead. Governor Wu Jin walked through the memorial hall where the names of the fallen were being carved into crystal walls. Each name glowed with a soft light. So many lights, so many lives given to protect this world. They'll be back, said Captain Yunji, standing beside him. Her ship had survived, but barely. Scorch marks covered its hull and several decks were still sealed due to damage. I know, Wu Jin replied quietly. But they know now. They know we don't break easily. While the Council fleet regrouped after their defeat at New Seoul, Admiral Jiwon launched her own offensive. She understood that the best defense was attack, and she knew exactly where to strike. The Betelgeuse system was a major Council logistics hub. Supply ships gathered there before distributing food, ammunition, and equipment to military bases across 3 sectors. It was heavily defended, but most of those defenses were designed to stop attacks from outside the system, not from within. Commander Hyunwoo led the assault. His ships jumped directly into the inner system, past all the outer defenses. They appeared near Betelgeuse Prime, the massive supply station that orbited the 4th planet. Target the docking bays and the fuel depots, Hyunwoo ordered. We're not here to kill civilians. We're here to cripple their logistics. The attack was surgical and brutal. Precision weapons destroyed the infrastructure that kept the Council fleet supplied. Within hours, months' worth of stored supplies became floating debris. Ships that had been refueling were left stranded. Defense stations found their ammunition exhausted with no way to resupply. Fleet Captain June coordinated the siege that followed. Human ships surrounded Betelgeuse Prime while engineers analyzed the station's defenses. When they found the weaknesses, they exploited them ruthlessly. Within a week, the station surrendered rather than face destruction. The capture of Betelgeuse sent shockwaves through Council space. If their major logistics hub could fall, nowhere was safe. Ships that had been advancing toward human territory suddenly found themselves running low on fuel and ammunition with nowhere to resupply. Entire fleets had to retreat to secondary bases. Supreme Commander Valorix demanded answers. How did they know about Betelgeuse's vulnerabilities? How did they bypass our defenses so easily? The answer, had he known it, would have terrified him. The intelligence came from the Salaxi, who had provided detailed maps and security protocols. The tactics came from years of careful study and innovation. The boldness came from humanity's willingness to take risks that more cautious species would never consider. But the war wasn't over. The Council still had thousands of ships, and they were gathering for one final desperate assault. They chose the Sirius cluster as their battlefield, a region of space filled with asteroids and stellar debris that would limit the effectiveness of human mobility. We'll force them to stand and fight, Valorix declared. No more tricks. No more surprise attacks. A direct confrontation where our superior numbers will crush them once and for all. The Grand Armada, or what remained of it, moved toward Sirius. Nearly 2,000 ships carrying the hopes and fears of the entire Council. If they won here, the human rebellion would be broken. If they lost, the Council's authority would collapse. Admiral Jiwon received the intelligence and smiled grimly. They want a direct fight? We'll give them one. But on our terms. She gathered every available ship, stripping defenses from less critical systems, calling in favors from allied species. When the human fleet assembled at Sirius, it numbered 1,600 vessels. Still outnumbered, but not as badly as before. Strategic Coordinator Sun Hee had spent weeks analyzing the battlefield. The asteroids and debris that Valorix thought would limit human mobility could be used as weapons themselves. She developed a plan called Hammer. The neutral station hung in the void between Council and Imperial space, a small outpost that belonged to neither side. It had been chosen for exactly that reason. Inside the largest conference room, two delegations faced each other across a wide table. On one side, Ambassador Daehyun led the Imperial representatives. On the other, the Council's remaining leaders sat in chairs that seemed too large for beings who had lost so much. The eldest one spoke first, its voice lacking the commanding power it once had. You have proven your strength. You have broken our fleets and taken our territory. What do you want from us now? Complete surrender? Daehyun shook his head slowly. We never wanted surrender. We wanted respect, recognition, the right to exist without your permission. The Council expelled us, blockaded us, tried to destroy us. All we did was survive. You did more than survive, said the Caltrine representative bitterly. You built an empire. You conquered systems. You turned our own allies against us. We offered better terms than you did, Daehyun replied simply. We treated other species as equals instead of subjects. That's not conquest. That's competition. And you lost. Empress Minji, attending the talks remotely via hologram, spoke up. But we didn't come here to gloat. We came to build something better. The Council system is broken. It concentrated power in the hands of a few ancient species and treated everyone else as children. That's why you had so much resistance, so much resentment. That's why so many species cheered when we defeated you. So you want to replace us, the eldest one said. The Terran Imperium becomes the new Council, ruling through strength instead of wisdom. No, Minji said firmly. We want to transform the system entirely. Ambassador Daehyun will explain. Daehyun activated a holographic display showing a new organizational structure. This is the Galactic Assembly. Every species gets representation based on population and territory, not age or military power. Decisions require majority vote, not unanimous consent. And most importantly, no single species can veto proposals they simply don't like. It's democracy on a galactic scale. The council representative stared at the display in silence. Trade Minister Kyung continued the explanation. The economic benefits are significant. Under the old system, the council took heavy percentages from all trade and resource extraction. We propose reducing those fees by half and distributing the revenue more fairly. Species that produce goods should profit from them, not just provide raw materials for council industries. You're dismantling everything we built over 10,000 years, one council member protested. The stability, the order, the peace we maintained. The peace you maintained through threat of force, interrupted Ambassador Kiran of the Salaxi. He had joined the imperial delegation, representing species who had suffered under council rule. You call it stability. We call it oppression. The Imperium offers something you never did: genuine partnership. The negotiations continued for 3 months. Legal advisor Isil worked day and night, drafting documents that would satisfy both sides while establishing clear rules for the future. Some council species refused to cooperate at first, but as they saw their former allies accepting the new terms, they realized they had little choice. The Treaty of Proxima, named after the system where it was finally signed, contained 17 major provisions. The council would be dissolved and replaced by the Galactic Assembly. All species would have equal representation. The Terran Imperium would receive formal recognition as a sovereign power, along with expanded territory that included the systems they had captured during the war. The Free Worlds League would also be recognized as an independent political entity. Most importantly, the treaty established rules for future expansion and conflict resolution. No more could powerful species simply declare war on weaker ones. Disputes would be mediated through the assembly. Military forces would be limited based on population and threat assessment, and any species could leave the assembly if they chose without facing punishment or blockade. It's not perfect, Daehyun admitted to Empress Minji after the signing ceremony. There are loopholes we'll need to address. Some species will test the boundaries, but it's better than what we had before. Minji nodded, looking at the document that had cost so much blood and treasure to achieve. My father used to say that the best peace treaty is one where everyone is equally unhappy. I think we've achieved that here. With the war over, the Imperium could finally focus on building instead of fighting. Chief Engineer Somin led projects that connected human and allied worlds with improved infrastructure. New jump gates reduced travel time between systems from weeks to days. Communication networks that used quantum entanglement allowed instant messaging across hundreds of light years. On New Sol, still recovering from the battle that had saved it, construction crews worked alongside volunteers to repair damaged districts. Governor Woojin watched a human engineer teaching a group of Thrym workers how to install the new power systems. Different species working together toward a common goal. That was what the Imperium had promised, and seeing it happen filled him with hope. Cultural Exchange Director Hana established programs that brought different species together. Human students studied on alien worlds. Alien scholars taught at imperial universities. Art exhibitions featured works from dozens of different civilizations. Slowly, the fear and suspicion that had defined galactic relations began to fade. Trade flourished under the new system. Merchant ships that once faced heavy taxes and strict regulations now moved freely between systems. The Kelvins, who had been nearly starving under council rule, now exported their deuterium at fair prices and used the profits to build schools and hospitals. The Salaxi, freed from council oversight, shared technology they had been forced to keep secret. Everyone prospered, but not everyone was happy. On some former council worlds, protests erupted. People who had benefited from the old system resented the changes. There were incidents, attacks on human diplomatic facilities and assassination attempts on imperial officials. The Imperium responded not with military force, but with patience and justice. Criminals were prosecuted under the new assembly laws, but whole populations weren't punished for the actions of extremists. 5 years after the Treaty of Proxima, the Galactic Assembly held its first official session in a massive new station built specifically for that purpose. Representatives from 147 species gathered in a chamber designed to accommodate every body type and environmental need. Empress Minji addressed them from the central podium. She looked older now, the stress of war and peace having added gray to her hair, but her voice was still strong, still confident. 5 years ago, we were at war. The Council and the Imperium fought for control of the galaxy. Millions died. Thousands of ships were destroyed. But from that conflict, something new has emerged. Not domination by one species over all others, but cooperation among equals. She paused, looking around the chamber at the incredible diversity of life that had gathered here. We still have problems. There are disputes over borders, arguments about resource allocation, concerns about military buildups. But now we have a place to discuss these issues peacefully. We have laws that apply to everyone, not just the powerful. We have a system where strength comes from unity, not from the ability to destroy those who disagree with us. The Terran Imperium fought for its freedom, and in doing so, we helped free countless others. But freedom is only the beginning. Now comes the harder work of building a civilization where that freedom means something, where every species can pursue its own destiny without fear, where exploration and innovation are celebrated, not restricted, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. She looked directly at the cameras that broadcast her words across the galaxy. To every being watching this, I say, the future is not written by ancient powers or predetermined by those who claim divine authority. The future is what we make it together, and I believe we can make it extraordinary. The assembly erupted in applause, whistles, chirps, and other sounds of approval from dozens of different species. It wasn't universal approval. Some delegates sat in stony silence, but it was enough. The new order had begun. Admiral Jiwan, retired now from active service, taught at the Imperial Naval Academy on Mars. She stood before a class of young officers, human and alien alike, and told them about the wars she had fought. We won because we refused to accept that the old powers were unbeatable, she said. We won because we innovated instead of following tradition. We won because we believed in ourselves when no one else did. But remember this, the hardest battles aren't fought with ships and weapons. They're fought in maintaining the peace, in choosing diplomacy over force, in building bridges instead of walls. One student, a young human named Jisoo, raised her hand. Admiral, do you think we'll have to fight again? Are there still species that want to destroy us? Jiwan considered the question carefully. There will always be conflicts. The galaxy is too large, too diverse for perfect harmony. But the difference now is that we have systems to manage those conflicts without war. We have the assembly, we have the treaty, we have relationships built on mutual benefit. Will we need to defend ourselves again someday? Probably.